Katie Brooks stared out the window of the human ship Starforge as it moved closer to the massive alien vessel. The Zephyrian ship looked like a floating crystal palace in space. Its walls seemed to glow with soft blue light that moved like water. Katie had never seen anything so beautiful and scary at the same time. "Remember what we studied?" Commander Amy Clark said as she walked up behind Katie. "The Zephyrians are very formal people. They have rules for everything. One wrong move, and this whole peace meeting could fail." Katie nodded and touched the translation device on her ear. She had spent months learning about Zephyrian culture and language. These aliens were much more advanced than humans. Their technology was like magic compared to what humans had. But they had agreed to meet with humans to discuss peace between their peoples. Captain Lisa Morgan walked into the room wearing her best uniform. She looked nervous but determined. "This is the most important day in human history," she said. "We need to show them that humans deserve respect and friendship, not war." The Starforge docked with the Zephyrian ship with a soft bump. Katie felt her stomach twist with nervousness. She was just a language expert, but she knew how important this meeting was. If things went wrong, the Zephyrians might decide humans were too dangerous to live. A group of Zephyrian guards met them at the airlock. The aliens were tall and thin with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer. Their eyes were large and silver, and they moved with perfect grace. They wore long robes that floated around them like they were underwater. The lead guard spoke in a voice that sounded like music. Katie's translator turned his words into English. "Welcome to the Imperial vessel Nethys Star. You will follow protocol, exactly. No sudden movements. No touching. No speaking unless spoken to." Captain Morgan, Commander Clark, and Katie followed the guards through hallways that looked like they were made of living light. Everything was smooth and curved. There were no sharp edges anywhere. The air smelled like flowers Katie had never smelled before. They were brought to a large room with walls that showed the stars outside. Princess Valdris Nethys sat on something that looked like a throne made of crystal. She was the most beautiful creature Katie had ever seen. Her skin was paler than the guards, almost white, and her hair was long and silver. She wore a dress that seemed to be made of starlight itself. "Humans," the princess said in perfect English. "You may approach. Stay at the proper distance and speak only when I give permission." Captain Morgan stepped forward and bowed the way they had practiced. "Your Highness, we come in peace, seeking friendship between our peoples." The princess looked at them with those silver eyes. Katie felt like she was being studied under a microscope. "You are smaller than I expected," Princess Valdris said. "And your technology is primitive. Why should the Zephyrian Empire waste time with your species?" Katie wanted to speak up, but she remembered the rules. She stayed quiet and let Captain Morgan handle the talking. "We may not have your advanced technology," Captain Morgan said, "but humans have other qualities that might interest you. We are good at solving problems and adapting to new situations." Princess Valdris seemed amused. "We shall see. You will be given quarters on this ship for 3 days. During this time, we will observe you and decide if humans are worth our attention." The meeting ended quickly. Katie, Captain Morgan, and Commander Clark were shown to their rooms. Katie's room was beautiful but strange. The bed seemed to float in the air and the walls changed color based on her mood. The next morning, Katie woke up confused about the time. The ship ran on Zephyrian time, which was different from human time. She checked her schedule and saw that she had a meeting with Princess Valdris in 1 hour. Katie put on her cleanest uniform and made her way through the ship's maze-like corridors. The Zephyrian guards she passed ignored her completely. She found the room where she was supposed to, meet the princess and press the door control. The door opened silently and Katie stepped inside. She expected to see Princess Valdris sitting regally on her crystal throne, ready for their formal meeting. Instead, She found the princess sitting on the floor in simple white clothes. Her silver hair was loose and messy. She was holding her head in her hands, and her shoulders were shaking. The princess looked up when Katie entered, and her silver eyes were wide with shock and something that looked like fear. For a moment, neither of them moved. Katie realized she had walked into something private, something the princess had not wanted anyone to see. According to everything she had learned about Zephyrian culture, this was a terrible mistake that could end the peace talks before they really started. But Katie looked at Princess Valdris and saw something she recognized. The princess looked scared and alone, just like Katie had felt many times in her life. Without thinking about protocol or rules, Katie stepped forward. "Are you okay?" Katie asked in her gentlest voice. "Do you need help?" Princess Valdris stared at her in complete shock. Katie could see that the princess had expected anger, fear, or formal apologies. She had not expected simple human kindness. Katie took off her uniform jacket and held it out to the princess. "Here, you might be cold," she said. The princess looked at the jacket like it was some strange alien artifact. "You are not following protocol," she whispered. "Sometimes people matter more than protocol," Katie said softly. "Are you hurt? Do you need me to call someone?" Princess Valdris continued to stare at Katie with those silver eyes. Something in her expression was changing. The shock was still there, but now there was something else. Curiosity. Katie realized that she had just done something that might change everything between humans and Zephyrians. She had shown the princess that humans cared about others, even alien others, even when they were supposed to follow rules. The princess slowly reached out and took Katie's jacket. "No one has ever," she started, then stopped. "You are very strange, human Katie Brooks." "Maybe," Katie said with a small smile, "but strange might not always be bad." Princess Valdris could not stop thinking about the human named Katie Brooks. For 3 days since their unexpected meeting, the princess had found herself watching the humans whenever she could. She had never met beings like them before. The princess had grown up learning that other species were either enemies to fight or servants to command. The Zephyrian Empire was the most powerful in the galaxy. Other aliens either bowed to them or were destroyed. But these humans were different in ways that confused her. She watched from hidden cameras as Katie helped fix a broken water system in the human quarters. Katie did not complain or ask for help. She just rolled up her sleeves and worked until the problem was solved. When Captain Morgan thanked her, Katie just smiled and said it was no big deal. During the formal dinners, Princess Valdris noticed more strange human behaviors. When one of the Zephyrian servants dropped a tray of food, Commander Clark immediately bent down to help clean it up. The servant looked shocked. No other species had ever helped Zephyrian servants before. The princess also watched Captain Morgan during the difficult negotiations with the Zephyrian High Council. The council members were demanding that humans submit to Zephyrian rule. They wanted humans to give them tribute and accept being a lower species in the Empire. Captain Morgan stayed calm even when the council members were rude to her. "We understand you are more advanced than us," Captain Morgan said. "But we hope we can be allies instead of subjects. Humans might have things to offer that you do not expect." The High Council laughed at this idea. "What could primitives like you possibly offer us?" asked Council Leader Nethys Voran. "Your technology is thousands of years behind ours." Princess Valdris felt embarrassed by her people's rudeness, which was a feeling she had never had before. She started to wonder if being advanced in technology made Zephyrians better than other species, or just different. On the third night, there was a formal dinner in the Great Hall. The Zephyrian nobles wore their finest robes and jewelry. The humans wore their best uniforms, but they looked simple compared to the Zephyrian finery. Princess Valdris sat at the high table and watched Katie sitting with the other humans. Katie was talking quietly with Commander Clark about something technical. The princess found herself wondering what they were discussing. Suddenly, alarm signals began flashing throughout the ship. The lights changed from soft blue to urgent red. A Zephyrian officer ran into the hall and spoke quickly to Council Leader Voran. "The life support system in Section 7 has failed," the officer announced. 43 crew members are trapped with only 2 hours of air remaining. The Zephyrian engineers had been working on the problem for an hour with no success. The section was sealed off, and they could not get the air systems working again. Everyone in Section 7 would die if they could not fix it. Katie stood up from her table. "Excuse me?" she said in a voice that carried across the hall. "I might be able to help." The Zephyrian nobles turned to stare at her. Council Leader Voran looked angry. "This is not a matter for primitives," he said coldly. "But—" Princess Valdris was watching Katie's face. She saw confidence there, not fear or arrogance. "What do you suggest?" the princess asked. Katie walked to the display screen that showed the ship's systems. "I worked on environmental systems for 5 years before becoming a translator," she said. "Your technology is more advanced than ours, but the basic principles are the same," she pointed to the screen. "Your engineers are trying to restart the main system, but look at these readings. The problem is not in the main system, it is in the backup power coupling. The main system cannot restart because the backup is drawing power in the wrong direction." The Zephyrian chief engineer looked at the screen. "That is impossible. Our backup systems do not work that way." "They do if there was a power surge that reversed the polarity," Katie explained. "It is a common problem on human ships. You need to manually reset the backup coupling first, then restart the main system." The engineer studied the readings more carefully. His silver eyes grew wide. "She is correct," he said in amazement. "How did you see what we missed?" Katie smiled. Sometimes it helps to look at problems with fresh eyes. Working together, Katie and the Zephyrian engineers fixed the life support system in 30 minutes. The 43 crew members were saved. When they came out of Section 7, they looked at Katie with something close to worship. The dinner hall was completely quiet. Princess Valdris could see that every Zephyrian in the room was staring at Katie with new eyes. A primitive human had solved a problem that their advanced engineers could not. Council Leader Voran cleared his throat. "This was fortunate," he said, but his voice was less certain than before. Katie returned to her table as if nothing unusual had happened. She continued her conversation with Commander Clark, like saving 43 lives was just part of dinner. Princess. Valdris excused herself early and went to her private chambers. She had too much to think about. Everything she had believed about other species was changing. These humans were not advanced in technology, but they had something else. They had practical intelligence and the ability to care about others, even strangers. She thought about Katie offering her jacket when she was vulnerable. She thought about Commander Clark helping the servant. She thought about Captain Morgan staying patient during rude negotiations. And now Katie had saved Zephyrian lives without asking for anything in return. The princess realized that her people had been measuring other species by the wrong standards. They looked at technology and formal education, but they ignored wisdom, kindness, and practical skills. Maybe being primitive in technology did not mean being primitive in other ways. She called her personal assistant. "I want to learn more about human culture and history," she said. "Get me everything we have about their species." As she read through the files late into the night, Princess Valdris learned about human wars, disasters, and struggles. She learned how humans had survived ice ages and plagues. She read about human art, music, and philosophy. She discovered that humans had qualities that Zephyrians had forgotten they needed. The next morning, she made a decision that would change everything. She would request a private meeting with Katie Brooks, not as a formal diplomatic session, but as two individuals trying to understand each other. Princess Valdris wanted to learn what it meant to be human. and she had a feeling that Katie Brooks was the perfect teacher. Katie was surprised when Princess Valdris asked to meet with her privately. They sat in a small garden room filled with alien plants that glowed softly in the dim light. The princess had chosen this informal setting instead of her throne room, which Katie thought was interesting. "Tell me about human history," Princess Valdris said without any formal greeting. "I have read our files, but I want to hear it from you." Katie was not sure where to start. "What would you like to know?" "Everything," the princess said. "How did humans survive when so many other species did not?" Katie thought for a moment. "I guess we learned to adapt," she said. "When the climate changed, we found new ways to live. When diseases came, we took care of each other and found cures. When we had wars, we eventually learned to make peace." She told Princess Valdris about the Ice Ages, when humans learned to make fire and hunt together to survive the cold. She explained how humans had faced terrible plagues but worked together to help the sick and find medicines. She described how humans had fought awful wars but always found ways to rebuild and create better societies. Zephyrians have never faced such challenges, Princess Valdris said thoughtfully. "We became advanced very early in our history. We never had to struggle for survival." "Maybe that is why we are different," Katie suggested. "Humans had to learn to be flexible and creative. We had to learn to work together when things got bad." The princess was quiet for a long time. "I think my people have forgotten some important things," she finally said. Their conversation was interrupted by urgent alarms throughout the ship. Both women rushed to the command center where they found chaos. The large viewing screen showed dozens of dark ships approaching fast. "Devourers," Council Leader Voran said grimly. "They have found our outer colony at Zephyr 7. The colony has 2 million people." Katie had heard about the Devourers in the briefings. They were a savage species that destroyed everything they found. They did not want territory or resources. They just wanted to kill and destroy for the pleasure of it. Captain Morgan and Commander Clark arrived in the command center. "How can we help?" Captain Morgan asked immediately. "You cannot," Council Leader Varan replied. "Your ships are too primitive for this kind of battle." On the screen, they could see the Zephyrian defense fleet engaging the Devourers. The Zephyrian ships were beautiful and powerful, but the Devourers fought without any pattern or strategy. They swarmed like angry insects, making it impossible for the organized Zephyrian fleet to predict their movements. "Your ships are stronger," Katie observed, "but theirs are more unpredictable." Princess Valdris nodded. "That has always been the problem with the Devourers. Our tactical computers cannot predict chaos." Katie watched the battle for several minutes. She could see what was happening. The Zephyrian ships were trying to fight, in perfect formations with careful strategies. But the Devourers did not follow any rules. They attacked from unexpected angles and changed direction without warning. "Captain Morgan," Katie said suddenly, "remember the war games we used to run on Earth? When we practiced fighting against random attack patterns?" Captain Morgan's eyes lit up. "You mean controlled chaos tactics. Human pilots are trained for that." Katie turned to Princess Valdris. "What if human pilots flew Zephyrian ships? Our pilots are used to improvising and adapting quickly. They might be able to match the Devourer's unpredictable style." Council Leader Varan looked horrified. "Impossible. Primitive humans cannot handle our advanced technology." But Princess Valdris was studying the battle screen. More Zephyrian ships were being destroyed every minute. "How quickly could your pilots learn our systems?" she asked Captain Morgan. "Give us 2 hours with your flight trainers," Captain Morgan said confidently. "Human pilots are fast learners." Princess Valdris made a decision that shocked everyone in the command center. "Do it," she ordered. "Transfer human pilots to our fastest fighters." While the human pilots trained on Zephyrian flight systems, Katie and Princess Valdris worked together to plan a new battle strategy. Katie suggested using human tactical flexibility combined with Zephyrian firepower. Instead of fighting in formation, Katie explained, what if each pilot was free to attack however they think best? Humans are good at making quick decisions, in chaotic situations. Princess Valdris understood immediately. Controlled chaos against pure chaos. They watched as pilot Megan Torres and 5 other human pilots took off in Zephyrian fighters. The difference was obvious right away. Instead of flying in perfect lines, the human pilots spread out and attacked from all directions. They changed course suddenly and unpredictably, matching the Devourer's wild fighting style. "It is working," Princess Valdris said in amazement. The Devourers could not predict the human pilots because the humans were not following any fixed pattern. Each pilot was making split-second decisions based on what they saw in front of them. They were fighting like humans had always fought, with creativity and instinct. But the battle was still not going well. There were too many Devourer ships, and they kept coming. The colony at Zephyr 7 was still in terrible danger. Captain Morgan made a decision that would change everything. "Katie, tell Princess Valdris that the Starforge is going to ram the Devourer command ship. It is the only way to break their attack." Katie felt her heart stop. "Captain, that is suicide." "Maybe," Captain Morgan said calmly, "but sometimes someone has to make the hard choice. Tell the princess that this is what humans do. We sacrifice for others, even for people we just met." Katie translated the message to Princess Valdris. The Batestia princess stared at Captain Morgan in shock. She would die for people she has never met. "That is what humans do," Katie said quietly. "We protect others, even when it costs us everything." Princess Valdris watched as the Starforge changed course and headed straight for the massive Devourer mothership. She had never seen such courage before. A primitive human was willing to die to save advanced Zephyrians she barely knew. The Starforge hit the Devourer command ship at full speed. Both ships exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The remaining Devourer ships, confused without their command vessel, scattered and retreated. The colony was saved. 2 million Zephyrians lived because of Captain Morgan's sacrifice. In the command center, everyone was silent. Princess Valdris looked at Katie, who was crying for her captain. The princess had never seen such grief or such love before. "Now I understand," Princess Valdris whispered. "Humans are not primitive at all. You are the most advanced species I have ever met." The funeral for Captain Morgan was held in the great hall of the Zephyrian ship. Princess Valdris had insisted on full honors, something never before given to a non-Zephyrian. The hall was filled with both humans and Zephyrians, all mourning. Together, Katie stood at the front and spoke about her captain. "Lisa Morgan believed that doing the right thing was more important than staying safe," she said. "She showed all of us that courage is not about being fearless. It is about being afraid and doing what needs to be done anyway." Princess Valdris watched the faces of the Zephyrians in the crowd. She could see that they were deeply moved by the human captain's sacrifice. Something fundamental was changing in how her people saw humans. After the ceremony, Princess Valdris called an emergency meeting of the High Council. Katie was invited to attend as the new temporary leader of the human delegation. "The humans have proven themselves in battle," Princess Valdris announced. "They saved 2 million of our people. We need to reconsider our entire approach to this alliance." Council leader Voran was still skeptical. One brave act does not change the fact that they are technologically inferior. But their bravery and creativity make them valuable allies, the princess argued. They think in ways we cannot. They solve problems we miss. They sacrifice for others without being asked. Katie listened to the debate, but said nothing. She was still grieving for Captain Morgan and trying to figure out how to continue the mission without her. The discussion was interrupted by another alarm. This time, it was even more urgent than before. A massive Devourer fleet was approaching Zephyr Prime, the home world of the Zephyrian Empire. This fleet was 10 times larger than the one they had just defeated. "They are coming for revenge," Council Leader Varan said grimly. "The main Devourer force wants to punish us for destroying their advance fleet." The Zephyrian military leaders quickly gathered to plan their defense. But Katie could see the fear in their eyes. Even with all their advanced technology, they were not sure they could stop such a large attack. "How long until they reach Zephyr Prime?" Katie asked. 18 hours, the military commander replied. Katie thought quickly. What if we combined our fleets, human ships and Zephyrian ships fighting together? Human ships would be destroyed instantly, Council Leader Varan protested. They are too weak. But Princess Valdris was studying the tactical displays. What if we used human ships differently? Not as frontline fighters, but as support and coordination? Katie nodded excitedly. Exactly. Human ships could coordinate the battle and provide backup while Zephyrian ships do the heavy fighting. We could use human tactical thinking with Zephyrian firepower. Commander Clark, who had been quiet since Captain Morgan's death, finally spoke up. I volunteered to lead the human fleet. Lisa would want us to help. Over the next 12 hours, humans and Zephyrians worked together to prepare for the biggest battle in their history. Human engineers helped modify Zephyrian weapons to be more flexible. Zephyrian technicians taught humans how to operate advanced sensor systems. Katie found herself working directly with Princess Valdris to coordinate the battle plan. They discovered that they worked well together. Katie provided creative ideas, while the princess understood how to implement them with Zephyrian technology. I have never had a partner like you, Princess Valdris admitted as they worked through the night. Zephyrians are taught to work alone or in strict hierarchies. But you make everything better by working with me. Katie smiled. Humans learned long ago that we are stronger together than apart. When the Devourer fleet arrived, it was even more terrifying than expected. Thousands of dark ships filled space around Zephyr Prime. The planet's population of 8 billion, people was in mortal danger. The combined human Zephyrian fleet was much smaller but better organized. Katie and Princess Valdris commanded from the flagship, with Katie coordinating human forces while the princess managed Zephyrian fleet movements. The battle began with the Devourers swarming toward the planet in their usual chaotic style. But this time the defenders were ready for chaos. Human pilots and Zephyrian fighters met them head-on, fighting unpredictably and disrupting their attack patterns. Meanwhile, human ships stayed back and used their sensors to track Devourer movements. They fed information to Zephyrian command ships, which could then position their heavy weapons for maximum effect. It is working, Princess Valdris said, as they watched the first wave of Devourers being pushed back. Your tactical coordination is perfect. But the Devourers had learned from their previous defeat. They began targeting the human ships specifically, trying to break the coordination that was making the defense so effective. They know we are the weak link, Commander Clark reported from her ship. They are trying to take out our command and control. Katie made a desperate decision. All human ships, scatter and continue coordinating independently. Do not let them destroy our communication network. The human ships spread out across the battlefield, each one coordinating a small section of Zephyrian fighters. This made it much harder for the Devourers to disrupt their communications. The battle raged for 6 hours. Ships were lost on both sides, but the planet's defenses held. Katie watched in amazement as humans and Zephyrians fought side by side, each species contributing their strengths to the common defense. The turning point came when pilot Megan Torres discovered a weakness in the Devourer mothership's shields. She transmitted the information to Princess Valdris, who immediately coordinated a massive Zephyrian attack on that exact spot. The mothership exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from the planet's surface. Without their command vessel, the remaining Devourer ships lost coordination and began to retreat. We did it, Princess Valdris said in amazement. We actually won. Katie looked around the command center at the exhausted but victorious humans and Zephyrians. They had saved 8 billion lives by working together. Captain Morgan's sacrifice had not been in vain. "This is just the beginning," Katie said softly. "Imagine what we could accomplish if our species really became allies." Princess Valdris smiled. "I think my father will be very interested in that conversation." 3 days after the great battle, Princess Valdris stood before the assembled leaders of both species in the crystal chamber of Zephyr Prime. The room was filled with Zephyrian nobles, human survivors, and military officers from both fleets. Katie sat in the front row, wearing a new uniform that had been specially made for her. The Emperor of the Zephyrian Empire, Princess Valdris's father, sat on his throne made of living crystal. He was ancient even by Zephyrian standards, and his silver eyes held the wisdom of centuries. But today, those eyes showed something new: respect for the humans who had helped save his empire. "We gathered here today to discuss a treaty of submission," the Emperor began in his deep musical voice. Humans were to become subjects of the Zephyrian Empire, providing tribute and service in exchange for protection. The human survivors shifted, nervously. This was what they had feared from the beginning. But Princess Valdris stepped forward. "Father, I request permission to speak on behalf of both our peoples." The Emperor nodded, and Princess Valdris turned to address the assembly. 3 weeks ago, I believed that advanced technology made us superior to all other species. I thought that primitive beings had nothing to offer the Zephyrian Empire." She looked directly at Katie. "Then I met a human who offered me kindness when I was vulnerable. She could have used my weakness against me, but instead she showed me compassion. That was my first lesson about human strength." Princess Valdris continued, "I watched humans solve problems that our advanced engineers could not. I saw them sacrifice themselves for people they had never met. I witnessed their courage in battle and their creativity in crisis." The Zephyrian nobles murmured among themselves. This was not what they had expected to hear from their princess. "Captain Lisa Morgan gave her life to save 2 million Zephyrians," Princess Valdris said, her voice growing stronger. "Pilot Megan Torres discovered the weakness that let us defeat the Devourer mothership. Commander Amy Clark coordinated a defense that saved our home world. And Katie Brooks showed me that true advancement is not about technology. It is about the courage to care for others." She turned to her father. "I propose that instead of making humans our subjects, we make them our partners. We have technology, but they have something we have forgotten: the ability to adapt, to sacrifice, and to find strength in working together." The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. "These are serious accusations against our own people, daughter. Are you saying that Zephyrians are lacking in some way?" Princess Valdris chose her words carefully. "I am saying that we have become so focused on perfection that we have forgotten how to grow. Humans are not perfect, but they never stop trying to become better. They face every challenge as an opportunity to learn." Katie stood up from her seat. "Your Majesty, may I speak?" The Emperor nodded, curious to hear what the human would say. "Princess Valdris is right that humans are not perfect," Katie began. "We make mistakes all the time. We fight among ourselves. We sometimes make bad decisions, and our technology is primitive compared to yours." Some of the Zephyrian nobles smiled, thinking this proved their superiority. "But," Katie continued, "we have learned that our imperfections make us stronger, not weaker. When we fail, we learn. When we disagree, we find compromises. When we face impossible challenges, we find new solutions." She gestured to the humans and Zephyrians in the room. "In the past week, we have shown that our two species are stronger together than apart. Your technology and our adaptability saved 8 billion lives. Your precision and our creativity defeated an enemy that neither of us could have beaten alone." Katie looked directly at the Emperor. "We do not want to be your subjects, Your Majesty, but we would be honored to be your friends." The Emperor considered this for several minutes. The entire room was silent, waiting for his decision. Finally, he spoke. In 5,000 years of Zephyrian history, no other species has ever saved our people from destruction. You have earned the right to be called equals, not subjects. He stood from his crystal throne. I propose a new kind of treaty, an alliance of equals, where both species contribute their strengths and help each other grow. The cheering from both humans and Zephyrians filled the crystal chamber. Katie felt tears of joy running down her face. They had done it. They had turned fear and suspicion into friendship and cooperation. Later that evening, Katie and Princess Valdris walked together through the gardens of the Imperial Palace. The alien flowers glowed softly in the twilight, and the stars were beginning to appear in the purple sky. "I have a proposition for you," Princess Valdris said. "My father wants to create a new position, Ambassador of Cultural Exchange, someone who would help our two species learn from each other." Katie smiled. "Let me guess. You want me to take the job?" "You would be perfect for it," the princess said. "You understand both our peoples and you have a gift for bringing out the best in everyone." Katie thought about it. "What would this job involve?" "Everything," Princess Valdris laughed. "You would help design new protocols that combine human flexibility with Zephyrian tradition. You would train exchange students from both species. You would help plan joint exploration missions to discover new worlds together." Katie felt excited about the possibilities. "It sounds like the adventure of a lifetime." "It would be," Princess Valdris agreed. "And you would not be doing it alone. I have asked my father to make me the Zephyrian Ambassador of Cultural Exchange. We would be partners in building this new relationship." Katie grinned. "Just like we were partners in winning the battle." They reached a balcony that looked out over the capital city of Zephyr Prime. Millions of lights twinkled below them, representing billions of lives that had been saved by human-Zephyrian cooperation. "Do you remember when you first entered my chambers?" Princess Valdris asked. "I was so shocked by your kindness." "And now?" Katie asked. Princess Valdris smiled. "Now I hope that kindness will help our peoples build something wonderful together." They stood together looking at the stars, planning joint missions that would take both species to new worlds and new adventures. The future was bright with possibilities that neither species could have imagined alone. Katie thought about Captain Morgan and her sacrifice. The captain had died believing that humans and Zephyrians could be friends. Now that dream was becoming reality. "Thank you, Lisa," Katie whispered to the stars. "We did it." As if in response, a shooting star streaked across the alien sky, carrying hopes and dreams toward the infinite possibilities of the universe.